And I see that there's a lot of questions in our Zoom chat right now. So now we can take a look at some of the questions that we have from our audience. And I hope that Castro and Ohad can answer all of these. I wish. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so the first one is that from Huyền. She's asking that I noticed that my emails usually go to spam box or promotion tab. Why is that? And what should I do to make it always go to the primary tab? Okay, so who wants to take the lead on these questions?
Yeah, no, yeah.
Oh, there's two hands raised.
Yeah, no, Ohad, go for it.
No, I'm a gentleman, ladies first.
Yeah, right. So the reality is, if I could give you just a simple formula for always getting top inbox placement, I could bottle that and retire now. Just sell that and we'd be good. Google would probably hunt me down, but the reality is that just like with SEO or any other algorithmic game we have to play, any tips that like specific tips or hacks, you should always look at very skeptically. It's a try. What Google and all the other inboxes are trying to do is essentially just make a good user experience. So if they see that your email is not getting opened or clicked over and over and over again, it's like, oh, the consumer doesn't like this email, doesn't like this domain. I'm going to go ahead and like put them in the spam folder. And even worse, like the worst thing that can happen is somebody actually hits the spam button. That's going to count way worse than like an unsubscribe, for instance, because that's actually telling Google like, oh, wow, hey, watch out. I don't like this message. This is fishy. So you want to, so this goes back to like your list acquisition. You want to make sure that you're only sending messages to people who opted into your program. They know they're going to get your messages and they wanted to get your messages. And then to follow other, great best practices. But 9 times out of 10, when we talk to people about like, oh, like, hey, I'm going in the spam folder a lot. It's like, oh, did you buy this list? Yeah. Okay, well, all those names on that list are telling Google like, hey, this is a spammer. So you just want to really watch out for stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that's what's happening here in this case. It's just we see that very often.
Yeah, I see. What about you, Ohad? What do you think about this?
Yeah, I totally agree. Sorry about that. I'll manage the technology eventually. I totally agree. And 2 more things that I would add is, from my experience, you don't want links in your emails. Links just tell Google that you're a spammer. I would reduce all links from our emails, especially when doing cold outreach. Even the ones from my signature, I have a proper signature for emails between organizations and stuff, and I have another signature that's only text, no links. I would dump all links from my signature. I would dump all links from the emails, and I would send emails with just 1 link, and that's the CTA. And another thing that I found that works is the subject line. The subject line, if you just have one well split tested subject line and then the rest of the emails are without subject line, then those emails will be conversational. They would be under the same tree, and thus less likely to go to the spam folder.
Yeah, I see. So subject line is very important in the first impression when you send out to your potential customers. In Pagefly, we do pay a lot of attention to the subject line, because if we include a free or discount or some stuffing keywords like that, is high chance that our email will jump into their spam or their promotion tab. So that is one tips from Pagefly that I can aware of that. Yeah, so I think that merchants can pay attention to the subject line as well, so that it doesn't feel like a cold outreach. Okay, so next question. We have a viewer who have a question specifically for Ohad. Can Ohad explain how a thank you page can help the business Isn't it just a page with a thank you message? Ohad, can you explain a little bit about this?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm not on mute this time. Absolutely, yeah. So I was just actually answering that in the chat box. So I'll try to put some links as I speak. But basically, the default Shopify thank you page is just a receipt. It does absolutely nothing for you. It just gives you your order details. It tells you what you bought, how much you paid for it, what's your address, and then that's it. And so what we did at Reconvert is we started by adding order tracking. So when you add order tracking, then the customer will go back to that thank you page more than 2 times. So anywhere between 2.2, 2.7 times, just to see where his order is at. And that'll give you 2.7 free opportunities to show him product recommendations, to show him upsell offers, to get his email address, to get him to share his order on social media, to show him your video, to do everything that we've discussed up until now. And this is why we've been so successful, because just like Esther said before about not using email marketing, there's money on the floor. You can pick that money up and get it, or you can leave it to your competition. It's that simple. And this is how we've been able to increase average order value over revenue for our clients up to 20%. And ROIs are just off the roof. And I'll put some examples in the chat box. Sorry.
Yeah, so I see that our speakers is very active in the chat box as they were speaking to us. They're very good at multitasking. Okay, so yeah, I really see the potential and the actual benefits of a thank you page to the way that you can nurture the customers and to upsell the products for your online store. So that is why in PageFly, when we partner with Reconvert, we together with them to create a thank you page design so that you can create one of your thank you page in Reconvert app. So yeah, you guys should try it out. So next question, I will try to read the question that hasn't been answered by you. Okay, so what's the best structure for an email design? Yeah, that's very specific and interesting to hear. So, Kestrel, can you help us with this?
Yeah, sure. So you're going to want to have that header at the top with your logo, maybe a menu bar. Then you're going to want to have an image, like a short little quip about whatever you're talking about, 3 lines of text max, a button. And that is basically like a foolproof layout. And you could rearrange that a lot of different ways. So it could go text, button, image. You could play around with that a bunch. I put a link to some examples because it's always better to see the examples than just to try to visually picture it, even though I'm doing a really great job with hand gestures right now. But you can use that as a great base and then start working on, like, once you feel like that looks really good, then you could move on to doing some more complicated layouts as well. But a lot of like really beautiful large brands right now are taking a very simplistic approach to their emails, and so don't feel the need to, make the message more complicated than it needs to be.
Yeah, I see. Okay. So yeah, it's the way that you get creative, but also be intentional with how you want the customer to interact with the email, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing, just because we're talking about email content in general, but one thing that I think is really fun, I know a lot of Shopify merchants put a ton of work into their social media, specifically either TikTok or Instagram, and doing a lot of, and Facebook, but doing a lot of imagery on there. Something that we just rolled out within Seguno was that you can actually just hook up your Instagram to Seguno and then go into your Instagram and add an image from your Instagram right into Seguno as your email image. So if you already did all this work, you could get more mileage out of it. And anytime you can kind of craftily use one piece of content, but maybe use it a couple of different places, that can be a huge time saver, as I'm sure many of you know. So you might already have some really beautiful content that you've worked really hard on generating, or maybe somebody has made it for you because they're using your product. Why not pull it into the email and let it do the talking?
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah. So Ohad, do you want to share something about this, about the email design? And yeah, because you're working on the thank you page optimization as well. So I think you can get some ideas on that.
I don't really have anything to add to Kestrel. I would just keep it as you know, like she said it in the beginning of this chat. People don't like to read anymore. I would keep it as short as possible. They're just lazy, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I would use visuals if they're leads, if they're like warm customers, if they are already converted customers, then yeah, I would use media. I would use video. I would use you know, colorful things that'll grab their attention. If they're not, I would just use short, laser specific text emails with no links.
Okay.
But she said it all, yeah.
Yeah.
She's the expert.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious. I have a question actually for Ohad. I'm curious because we're, you know, like we probably like different things. Like, what was the last email that you got from a brand where you were like, oh, I want that. Like, this is working on me. Like, their email marketing is effective. I am tempted to buy this thing.
I think my favorite emails to receive are partnership emails. So you know, from platforms like Crossbeam, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So they would just send you something that's like, first of all, it's very well designed because you know, I'm interested in receiving their emails. I'm already using their platform, and then it's like a newsletter, but it's full of value for you. You know, because they just shoot at you the best articles that are there for you to develop professionally. Because they do partnerships and I do partnerships, so they send me emails with, you know, get this case study. I love case studies, by the way, guys. If you have case studies, use case studies. So they would send you case studies. They would send you, you know, different strategies and ways of using their app better. So that's
I love that.
That's something I really like.
I love that. So everybody in the audience, like, you can think about what was the last email you got and like see how much Ohad just like lit up from that email. It's because that company knew what Ohad wants and they
also because I'm a geek.
Yeah, but they love that. They're making emails for the geeks, right? Like that's great. And so they're addressing Ohad's needs. And so now Ohad is excited about opening their emails. See how that shift kind of starts to happen? So like do some introspection on the next email that you get that you're like, oh yeah, I do want that thing.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, so we have a lot of questions. We have a lot of new questions, but I think that we can wrap up with the very last and very simple questions just to have a very realistic perspectives on email marketing. So we want to have a striking subject line, but including like 50% off or discount or get your free one can possibly leave you to spam inbox. Okay, so what are the alternatives, phrases or paraphrases that you can use to avoid like listed in the spam inbox? Very practical question. So Kestrel, can you help me with this?
Yeah, subject line gets talked about a lot, obviously. You know, every now and again, I think a good old, you know, if you're running a 50% off sale, which is tough, I know for a lot of people, unless you have those margins, which is great. You know, like you want to say it loud and proud and put some urgency in there, you know, like to get people really excited. And that makes sense. I think it's the matter of, you don't want to do that every single time, obviously, because then you're training people to, you know, like you're only doing sales and then they're never going to buy you at full price and so there's stuff there. I think, you know, you did a great job earlier condensing it, but you want those subject lines to be concise, which is kind of like writing poetry or like a haiku. Like it's harder to write like 5 words than it is to write 20 words. Like it'll like, that's how I think of it though. So I normally start with like maybe a longer sentence and then like we'll cut it down. And oftentimes there's unnecessary filler words that people will put into a subject line that just won't make it as interesting. I think that you could also, I see this a lot, and I want people to think about it. Look more at like what you post on Instagram and like kind of what emojis are kind of working on for your audience on Instagram, maybe what they're using, because sometimes that can add like a subtle personal touch. So for instance, like again, like this is going to go back to cosmetics, but I follow a couple of cosmetic brands and like they use like a black heart emoji all the time. And it really works with their color palette and everything they do. So then like they can put that black heart emoji within their subject lines too, because they know their audience like resonates with that specific emoji. You can always do testing with emojis because they're kind of controversial. I've seen them really help open rates, and I've seen them like not do so much. So like it kind of depends on your audience and choosing the right emoji. And then, yeah, I mean, if I was to just boil it down, yeah, you want that subject line to be like 5 to 7 words. You want to front load it with the keywords up first. So if sandals, you got new sandals, you want to say new sandals right up front. You don't want to be like, hey, guess what, guys, we're thinking about all these cool things and we have new sandals. Like, no, you want new sandals right up front. The word new does really well. And then the fact that maybe you're offering up some cool content. So maybe you're doing a style guide, maybe you're doing how-to tips, maybe you're doing a behind the scenes video. And which, by the way, could just be like you with your iPhone, like showing off some product. Like it doesn't need to be a huge production. So if you can tease out that there's actually something interesting in the message, that's what they want to see. What I don't recommend you do, even though you will get stellar subject lines, is you don't want to like lie in the subject line. Like you don't want to be like, hey, open this email and you'll get $1 million. Like that's not going to work. People don't like that. They don't like feeling tricked. So you've got to deliver on whatever you promised in that subject line. Otherwise people feel like cheated, and that's not how you want your relationship to be with your customers.
Yeah, I think that's very thorough explanation on the subject line. So Ohad, do you want to add anything to Castro?
Yeah. I wanted to add something about that, about what Castro said. During the last year and a half or so, one of our best performing subject lines was, I hope you're doing all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's very thoughtful from Ohad. Okay,
Yeah.
so I can see that there's so many more questions we haven't answered, but due to our time limit, we can only pick some of the most asked questions from you guys. And I think that Castro and Ohad has been sharing very thoughtful, very insightful answers to the online store owners so that they can benefit from this to run their own email marketing. Okay, so this is also the end of our webinar today. I wish that we can prolong this even more so that we can chat more about email marketing. But I'm very glad that you've stayed tuned till the very last of our event. And I would like to extend the warmest of thanks to our guests today. Thank you, Ohad from Reconvert and Castro from Seguno, for spending some valuable time to make today's discussion an absolutely amazing one. Okay. To our lovely audience, please feel free to share with us what you think under the comment section. We also are live on Facebook, and it's always love to hear what you have to say in order to continue improving the quality of our upcoming events. So if you are merchants looking to give your business a boost or create an online presence, you can check out Pagefly, Seguno, and Reconvert. Okay, and thank you all for tuning in, and see you next time. Thank you, Castro. Thank you, Ohad.
Thanks, guys.
It's lovely to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks. It was good fun.
Yeah, it's fun. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.